being a great communicator and visionary. So you've got to be able to articulate your vision of where you want the company to go, because ultimately people follow a visionary. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're creating. Here's where the future is going to be. People need to find themselves in that vision. That's how you attract those people to you. How are you going to attract the people that follow is by being able to clearly articulating a vision of what you want the company to be, and you're over and over and over and over again saying that vision to everybody.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into super clinic owners. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer Gligoric, and today you'll be here with me with a guest who is a healthcare industry disruptor that is going to get you guys fired up about the possibilities of the modern economy instead of being stuck in the, oh no, everything's different mindset. Our guest has been an entrepreneur since the tender age of 22. In fact, at 24, he co-founded a company that became one of Canada's first high-speed internet companies, which then grew into one of Canada's fastest growing. Yeah, I know. From there, he expanded and became a disruptor in several industries, including the one that's near and dear to our hearts, which is healthcare. And he's so successful that the Italian government and the president of Italy in 2007 bestowed upon him the title of Sir, or as it's known there, Cavaliere, for his entrepreneurial accomplishment. So let's give a huge Super Clinic Project welcome to Cavaliere Franco Lofranco to the show today. Welcome, Franco.
Hi, Jennifer. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you very much. I'm like, woohoo. Hopefully it's going to be all downhill from here now. Here we go.
Yeah, right? No, but that's impressive. That's impressive to be in your 20s when, most people are doing keg stands, and trying to just see how many dates they can get. And you're like, no, I'm just going to do the fastest growing internet company. It's like, wow. I mean, you've got a pretty amazing life so far, and you're still going for it. But tell me about, how did that happen in the 20s? Were you just dedicated? Did you stumble into it? Just give us an idea of how someone that young just does all that.
That's a great question, Jennifer. So first of all, I got to take you back to when I was 3 and 4 years old.
So
my parents came from Italy, and my dad always said to me from the time I was a little baby, Franco, listen to me. You will never work for somebody. You always have your own business. Okay, so when you're 3 or 4 years old, what do you say to your dad? Sure, Dad. Whatever. You don't know what it means. You don't even no idea what it means. So as I go through my entire teenage life and then get into my 20s and go to college, what happened? I was brainwashed to believe I can't work for somebody. I must just start my own company. So it became automatic. So be careful what you teach your kids, because what you're teaching your kids is what they're going to believe as they get older. So for me, what I believed is I had to own my own company, and it's just natural. It was a natural thing to do. So my first company was import-export to Mexico. And then a friend of mine got into, back then, I used the internet only in college. It's the only time it was available. It wasn't available really. And they had dial-up back then. It was like awful. Like it was really slow. And then
my first computer was a Commodore 64. So
me too.
So,
we're aging ourselves, Jennifer.
Yeah, I know.
Myself, just be careful. Exactly right. So anyway, I started
terrible. Love it.
My friends, and we set about, hey, can we provide websites and provide this? And this is back before it was a thing. And I started doing it in a really small way. Here's the funny part. Okay. This is a great lesson for all of you that are entrepreneurs. I got sick and tired of paying the monopoly company to give me access to their internet so I could resell it. I wanted to build my own. So I had to go and raise $40 million to build my own network, right? And I was in my mid-20s, right?
Wow.
What did I know? So I put together a business plan, put together a team, and we went out and presented to investors. Now, what do you think investors said to me? Oh, the internet, that's a great idea. Let's go right into it. No. Back then, they said the internet is a fad. It's not going anywhere. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? The internet's the future. No, the internet is a fad. And so I had 103 investors say no to me over a 12-month period. I couldn't find one person to invest, not one. And then my 104th investor said, wow, this is the greatest plan I've ever seen. We're in. And they put in their first, they were the first to put in the 10 million. And then we got the other 30 million from 4 other investors. So we got 4 investors of 10 million each, and the company launched. But here's the point of the story is you got to be clear in your vision. You got to be clear where you believe it's going, regardless of what the experts tell you, because the experts are not you. I had the CEO, listen to this, Jennifer, the CEO of Bell Canada, Canada's largest telecom company, tell me the internet is not here to stay.
That's insane. But my mouth is, if y'all are watching on YouTube, you'll see my mouth was hanging open that entire story. But it is really nuts. I mean, nobody, it was a futurist. Like, and now that just seems crazy, right? It seems crazy. But at the time, though, the way the entire world worked and had worked for decades of decades, and the technology that they had seen come and go, or like Betamax, that was the next biggest great thing. It was a superior product, absolutely wonderful. They lost in the marketing wars to VHS. So, and people had went from, okay, so there was nothing, then you had radio, then you had these vinyl records, then it went to, we can do 8-track. Then we can do cassette. Now we can do CDs, right? And then it went after that digital. So this is somebody who had been stuck in people who were still having cassette tapes and CDs. They had already seen this major technology supposedly to be the future. All were done and gone. So that was not a stupid call, right? That would have been a conservative call. But yet that was a dumb call now in retrospect, right?
Well, the problem is, Jennifer, people live in paradigms, right? So in their paradigm, they couldn't see that world that was coming because they know how they lived every day. And people think, like, I remember people said to me when I was doing websites for stores that were going to sell their product online, because we had a division that did that. People say to me, online shopping, who's going to go online shopping? That's ridiculous. People need to go into the store physically. They got to touch it. They got to buy. And now is like any excuse not to go out, but that's how patterns shift, right? But people can't see what's coming. And therefore, because they can't see what's coming, this is the problem that we get ourselves into. And so if you're going to be anyone that understands being an entrepreneur or investing or anything like that, you got to be able to see where the market is going and be convicted by it. Now, look, sometimes you're early and your company's early and you're whatever. And now we see the same thing happening in many industries. We're going to see it in insurance. We're going to see it in healthcare. We're going to see it in the auto sector. There's a lot of sectors that AI right now is going to be massively disrupting. And the only thing I hope for people is A, they're prepared, and B, they can profit from where it's going.
That was my next question. I was going to talk about, like, when you think about industries that were slow adapters, nothing is a slower adapter than healthcare, right? I mean, you still have doctors that have paper charts right now, still to this day, that are going, okay, I guess we finally have to move over to an EHR. Right? We're talking over 20 years into being able to have some program. And I mean, that's all we deal with is doctors. And I've dealt with a doctor who did not know what a spreadsheet was. We had to literally teach them how to use a spreadsheet because they still were just getting into a system and still had paper charts. So what do you think? Do you think that is the greatest challenge for healthcare, or do you think it's something even different than that?
Oh, there's so many things that are broken. What I could probably do is give you a picture of the future that I think, like a vision.
Oh, yes, that's what I would rather know.
Right?
Okay, yeah,
let's start with that. Like, where are we going with AI? So I see a world with very few doctors, because in a few years, AI would be better than doctors. Sorry. It'll be able to absorb the latest information, the latest analysis. Doctors cannot read everything. They're just too busy. They're with so many things, seeing clients, making money, all the things that they need to do to live their life, that I truly see a world where AI will be your doctor, not your doctor. And maybe there'll be a specialist or something like that, because even robotics will be better at surgery than doctors. And you're going to see that happening. Like, I give an example. My wife went through open heart surgery only 4 years ago for a defective mitral valve that she had. And even then we were looking at robotics as performing the surgery. But at that point, we weren't convinced that that robot was going to be better than the doctor we had picked. And we were correct. But now it's coming to the point where it might be. And that's the point, right? And so you're going to see a world where robotics and AI can take over the medical field. When that happens, you're going to see a massive drop in costs and all that stuff. And you're going to be able to see, so that's on the medical side, right? And now, like, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, he's got an AI he's almost ready to go to market with, where it collects all your information, all your data, and can literally be your own private doctor, analyzing all your files and tell you exactly what you're going through, what you need right now, what's happening with you. It becomes your own private concierge.
That's already happening with people using the internet. Like, and I know we deal with a lot of doctors where you have to go in, you have to get an adjustment, you physically get touched with those different things. And that's for people who do that, physically have to manipulate people. That's going to take longer because robots will have to be in there and do that. Right. And then, but when you think about how people are using it, and they're getting better outcomes for it, more and more people are more trusting the AI. Like, there is an entire thing on the internet of specifically women getting told, well, maybe you should lose some weight. And they're in there because they have cancer. They've got a tumor. They have life. Literally, they're half dying before they get anyone to do any tests on them because insurance won't pay. Right. And so if they weren't searching and being their own advocate, utilizing AI, they'd be dead, because that's how bad the system has gotten for them. Right. So I absolutely agree with that. But what do you think the opportunity, because, our audience is probably going, scary. They're all doctors, right? They're all doctors and healthcare professionals who own clinics, but yet inside of that fear, there's tremendous opportunity. If you don't put up a brick wall and go, that'll never happen, and be the bell guy, right? Don't be the bell guy, because
don't be the bell guy. Don't be the bell guy. We should have a t-shirt. Don't be the bell guy.
Don't be the bell guy, right? So how do you see it for healthcare professionals to not be the bell guy, but yet still, this is their thing. They want to help people, but, what are ways that they can start to dive into this for their
That's
business?
a great question. So let's look at it from a problem-solving perspective. Yeah. See, most great solutions from an industry come from who? Industry insiders that are in that industry. They're like, well, what a problem is. Look at this problem that we're having. Then you go find that solution for it. So if you're a doctor, and you're in the ortho space, for example, and maybe if an AI could just do this and analyze this for us, oh my God, it'd make my day, my life so much easier. Go create it. Go find someone to help you create it. So there's all kinds of solutions or problems out there that need to be solved. You just got to keep your eyes and ears open. Okay, my sector, you don't have to go outside of what you're doing. Like, look at your sector, what needs to be solved. Cool. Go solve that problem. Go figure that out. And I could tell you, like, for example, this guy that's doing the AI for getting all the medical files together, it was a problem he was encountering in another business, and it was driving him crazy. He goes, well, let me just create an AI that solves the problem. And so if you could do that over and over again, you could really provide something really great and powerfully unique for your clients, for yourself, because this is going to be a 10-year process as we go through this, right? So what's going to be the solution? Maybe it's a different way we train doctors. Maybe we have doctors that are using AI in a consultative way. right? Maybe it's like you create that. So you've got your AI, you've got your personal doctor. He's reviewing the analysis and thinks, okay, good. So maybe you've got Dr. AI. I don't know, I'm making this up, right? So
Right.
like you got to be a little bit creative now and thinking about, okay, and I always tell people, think from the future. Think from the future. In the future, where will we be? What service will we have? What will we create? What will we have? So I'll give you an example. Today, I'm seeing a shift in this already.
Mm-hmm.
In the health insurance space and medical space, and most companies, you have centralized companies where you pay people every month your premium, your fee, whatever it is, right? Cool. You have no idea where that money goes, correct?
Correct.
They could, like the insurance industry, since 2006, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
they've made $1.6 trillion, the top insurance companies, $1.6 trillion of profit.
Yeah.
96% of those profits, 96% went right back to shareholders.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Not reinvested, not to the healthcare system, right to the holder pocket, right?
I can go off on that because I was doing an entire, analysis for CEO pay, right? So in 1978, the CEO pay ratio across the board was around 25-1, meaning 25 times more than the average person. And that's across industries. Now, they still had CEOs that had private planes. They still were making more than anyone else. They were rich, traveling all the world, going to Studio 54, if that was even still open. I mean, having a blast, right? So it's not like they were poor CEOs in 78. These were rich people, right? That poor CEO who, the Luigi guy, his was 365-1. And he wasn't the only one to that. And that's an issue. That's a failure to reinvest in the company in a way that is, I'm a big advocate of ethical entrepreneurship, right? And so to me, that is absolutely unethical entrepreneurship. When you deny, if that's the ratio and yet you're denying coverage for someone who who should be covered because the terms really are they should be covered, then what are you doing, right? But even with that, rather to get mad and go, it's rigged and it's too big, it's too corrupt. There's definitely, we still have a system to where you can buck the system. Taking it to a lower level, right? Big thing for hiring, right? Hiring, and specifically for healthcare hiring. Every single doctor I know just goes, it's a nightmare. We can't get the right people. They quit, they do whatever. So through this show, I met a doctor who was an optometrist, 15 years of never being able to go on vacation because that key person would quit right before they needed to take their 2 days off. It was just, and who said there's got to be a better way, and started developing with the most rudimentary of AI systems, which has now gotten really good, a way to not use resumes while using resumes, to have a system where now you just use that system, that company, and they've been on a prior show. So if you know me, you can go find out. It's Dr. Neil, and you just get a person. The retention rate is over a year because that person already
makes sense.
They get the resumes, but they don't use them because they're so AI. They've used so many AIs to create a resume that it's all fake. Everything you're getting is just to beat the ATS. And so the new thing is just going through almost like a personality thing, and it takes less than 10 minutes. So it's not this 3-hour thing where an A player is going to go, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting paid for that. They get through that program. They get them, and that person may not even have a degree, but they can do the job. They want to do the job. And usually they're the top employee. Tons of doctors that have used this have said it has revolutionized it. We have the best teams ever. And they end up having less people because they were ahead of curve. That one person just to follow you did exactly what you just said to do. They thought about it. They had a challenge and they came up with a solution. They just worked it. So I absolutely agree with you. You're absolutely right.
To your point, remember LegalZoom? Obviously.
Oh, yes. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Who created that? Lawyers, Robert Shapiro, right? OJ's lawyer. right?
Oh, really? That was OJ's lawyer?
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't
Robert
even realize
Shapiro,
that.
right? And like,
Yeah.
think of what happened there. They saw a void in the marketplace and online to make affordable legal documents for people spending instead of lawyers charging gazillion dollars.
Mhm.
They went and started LegalZoom and it blew up to this gazillion dollar company. So to your point, it's like people in the industry itself, just look at where the problem is. You can solve it. You can find a solution and let technology help you. Technology is your friend if you know. Here's the one thing I always tell people: technology is undefeated. You can't beat it. It's undefeated. So use it, make it be your friend, and as it goes along. Because look, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and Optimus, the robotic division will be massive. I think that division alone will be $1 trillion industry for them. So I'm very bullish on the company. And there's other companies doing the exact same thing. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine graduated from MIT and she's already testing robots in her home, wash dishes, do the stuff, house chores, all this stuff. And by
Really?
year, she thinks they're going to be ready for people to buy them and to use them in their home. And I said to her, "What's it like to have them in your home?" He goes, "First of all, it's freaky. Like it looks like a person, like
Oh,
dark,
really? So they're like humanoid robots, not like
no
R2D2
face.
peeping at
They
you.
didn't give him a face, no face. They haven't
Uh-huh.
given him a face yet. Maybe in the future, I'm sure they will. They'll be able to, if they want him like sexy and hot, who knows? Maybe a while.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a whole industry.
But she's telling me within a year that she thinks they'll be ready for sale, and they'll be like $20,000 to $30,000. You can finance them for like $200-300 a month, and literally it'll do your landscaping, it'll do your chores, it'll do everything. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. Isn't that crazy?
Can you imagine just if you decided to do this from a healthcare slant, like I'm just thinking from an accessibility, right? You could literally go to governments. Let's say you wanted to get funding, but you didn't want to use your own money. You could say, hey, we would like to partner with you and we would like to take these robots, put some medical stickers on them and have them just work with people with disabilities.
It's a brilliant idea. Are you kidding me? They could totally for old folks and people like that in housing, assisted housing, all that stuff is that'd be powerful. See, there you go. Right there.
Right. Yeah, I probably should. That's my idea. That's my idea. Right. But yeah, see, when you talk to people, you're like, oh, wow, that would be it. But that would be a good thing. We'd put these in there and we'd help these people. There's so much
you
could
can't
do
afford people to do that.
No, you cannot get an assistant. Let's say how many people go home from a hospital after surgery and they're just, it's just awful and they need help, but they can't afford to get that nursing assistant that came in. You could literally rent a robot for so much cheaper and then map that robot around the house and that robot could help that. Ooh, that's actually a good idea.
Exactly.
Rent a nurse.
By the way, you don't have to worry about illegal immigrants anymore.
Oh, yeah. Oh, then what would happen with that, right? That whole thing would just go away, right?
They can work farms. These robots can work literally anything.
And wouldn't that be, and people go, but what about the jobs? Well, there are people that still would need to fix those, right? There's still always going to be a human component for that.
It's going to shift. You're right. It's just going to shift to something different. You got to keep your eyes open as to what it's going to be.
Right. So you could literally say, if we have that, where's the human aspect of that? And then you could plug yourself into that. I'm someone who's like on the fence. Like I'm like, Terminator 3, we're all going to die. Ah! And then the other side of me that goes, ooh, flying cars, robots. This is the dystopia that I wanted, not the one where one company owns all the cybernetics and they could just shut all your organs down because you missed a payment, right? Like there's got to be a way we can get from that hellish dystopia of, well, we'll just turn off all your robots, right? Because some power hungry people, and to actually do it in an ethical way that actually helps humanity and gets us to the next level. But that could be that could be something too. There could be literally, you could say, I'm going to come up with a group of people just to do the robot laws. Right.
And look, there is a risk. Look, what did Musk say? There's a 10 to 20% chance these robots take over and kill us all. There's a chance. There's always
only humans are stupid enough to invent taxes and robots, right?
There's a chance. There's a possibility.
But there's somebody there going, yeah, but I don't have to do dishes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth the risk. It's worth the risk. So we'll see what happens.
Toilets?
But yeah,
Oh,
it's so funny. But
that is funny. We're ridiculous. Okay, so there was something that you had talked about that I heard you say that you isolated, or you feel like you isolated the 5 key things of success, right? So you're already talking to entrepreneurs right now and people who want to be ahead of the curve, or they're not going to be listening to this, right? So people who are like, what do we do? How do we get ahead of the curve? Do you think that those 5 key things to success that you said you could isolate, would that help them? And if so, what are those 5 key things?
yeah, because they're eternal, right?
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's the year is 1000 AD, 1000 BC, or 20 our year, right? It doesn't make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
What matters is there's a few things that if you're going to be an entrepreneur that are common amongst all entrepreneurs, regardless of what year it is, regardless of what you're going through, because they're absolutely key to success. Okay. So number one, I'll go with number one. And to me, the most important factor is resourcefulness. If you're not resourceful, because you got to be able to pivot on a dime sometimes. Sometimes your business model was working and the next year it's not. What happened? What needs to be shifted? And when you're I don't know an entrepreneur that's successful over the 5-10 year period who's not resourceful. That person to me,
Look at COVID.
100%.
That took the resourcefulness. That's where that really came out, isn't it? Yeah.
And look at the ones that were resourceful. They crushed it. They made more money than ever in their life, right?
In all things, the stock market crash, the greatest success stories, like some of the richest Americans of the time, came through the worst economic times.
Exactly, because they're resourceful and they were able to pivot. They weren't stuck. Well, what do I do now? If you're going to be resourceful, here's what you can't be: a victim. So what happens to people is they get into victim mode, blame mode. And then when you're in that mode, you can't be resourceful. If you're going to be resourceful, you have to be accountable of every part of your business, whether you like it or not. So the minute you agree to be an entrepreneur, it's because you're literally saying to yourself, I'm 100% responsible and no one's coming to save me. And if you can't have that attitude, you have no business being an entrepreneur. Zero.
Correct.
It's 100% accountable, and you're the one that's going to save the day. If you like that, I love that. I love that challenge. I love being that person. I love being the solution. And when I was a kid, a really quick story, my dad had a cube. Okay. This little glass cube on our coffee table. So when I was watching TV as a kid, there's the coffee table and this glass cube, and this glass cube had 6 sides. And on each side, it had something different, positive written. And it was on our coffee table for years and years and years. So I would sit down, watch the TV, and there'd be something written. Like one of my favorite things that was said on one side is, do you see the possibility in the problem? And for whatever reason, that was always like staring at me when I was sitting down watching television, as a kid. And now I've literally saw that so often. I've trained myself that if there's a problem, what's the possibility? Not that it's a problem, right? Because here's what I know. People get paid a lot of money to solve problems. Those are the richest people. The richest people aren't just rich by luck. They're able to solve a problem that other people are not able to solve. And so if you're a problem solver, that goes back to resourcefulness. Congratulations. You're going to be a rock star. And you're going to be able to, that's what, Barbara Corcoran is. She's awesome. She's a tank, real estate. She has like hundreds, and I think she's up to 600 companies now, or something crazy that she has investments in. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And somebody asked her, all these problems from these companies, isn't it overwhelming? She goes, no, I love it. I wake up every morning, give me the problem so we can provide the solution, because how we get rich is by providing the solution. And it's like, we got to be able to make that shift. And that comes from enjoying being resourceful and looking. So that's number one. Number two is personal development. And for folks in the medical industry, this is a problem, because most folks in the medical space are not into personal development. They're not into leadership. They don't study any of that. They focus everything from the standpoint of, I have a clinical issue and I must solve this clinical issue. And their whole,
or I have to get my CEUs to keep my license. So I'm going to go to this update of how to do something I've already done a million times because it's easy and I'll pay my money.
Exactly right. And so if I look at the folks from the medical that be able to transition into business, they're big into personal development and leadership. Very big. There's an MBA school out of Chicago only for doctors. Okay. Only for doctors
Mhm.
that want to do their MBA and get into business. Okay. I think it's called the Macmillan School of Business. I think it's pretty sure. Okay. And so I'll tell you something funny. So there was a big article written about it, and they're pretty good at getting doctors to transition, but they said the hardest section of the MBA for most doctors is the section on leadership. It
I
takes them
believe it.
forever to get it. They just can't get it. They're struggling. They're stuck because they've never looked at anything from that lens. So if you don't look at it from that lens, of course, it's going to be the most difficult thing. But once they get it, they're smart
For
guys.
working with doctors, it
Well,
is very difficult because they are penalized to actually be leaders. They are literally, the whip is out. No, you memorize and you tell us what it's supposed to be. Whip, don't come outside of the box. Whip, don't try to be innovated. Whip, whip, you'll get sanctioned. They are just completely told to do the exact opposite of this, because the number one rule is conservatism and safety. You memorize and then you pair it up with what you know. You absolutely do not get out of that frame of mind. That's what's really difficult, because doctors they have to have that mindset. Then they have to have the ability to go into a different human being and have the mindset of the CEO, and then a different human being in the mindset of a shareholder. Most entrepreneurs just struggle between shareholder and CEO, but the doctor has to do, maybe, a lot more. So yeah, I can see that.
Exactly right. No, what you say, 100% right, 100% perfect, which leads us to the third thing. And the third part is being great with people. So a lot of doctors are not great with people. They're just not. It's not a skill set they learn. It's not really important to where they think they need to get to, or where they end up being. And so charisma matters, being great with people, empowering people, recognizing people, acknowledging people. That's very important when you're building a company. You got to create a culture. You got to create a culture of like empowering people. Like, great job, John. Great job, Mary. You did fantastic. This is great. I couldn't be prouder of you for what you did, for what you created, versus finding what's wrong, looking for what's wrong all the time. Can you uplift? Can you lift up people? That's a very important part of a successful now, the other entrepreneurs are not like that. Yeah, but they're hated. People don't work for them very long, right? I'm leaving. I'm going to find a different company, right?
Yeah.
So that's number 3. Number 4 is being a great communicator and visionary. So you've got to be able to articulate your vision of where you want the company to go, because ultimately people follow a visionary. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're creating. Here's where the future is going to be. Here's where because people need to find themselves in that vision. That's how you attract those people to you. How are you going to attract the people that follow? Is by being able to clearly articulating a vision of what you want the company to be. And you're over and over and over and over again saying that mission to everybody. Why? It's inspiring. The people that
look at Elon Musk. He's not good with people. But talk about visionary, having the vision, being so passionate. Well, everything is balanced. You're not going to be 100% on everything. Some people have a lot more of one than the other, but that was definitely the skill that got him over the not that great with people.
And even though he's not great with people, he's great at recognizing people. He'll do that.
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
Right? He will recognize people because of his health, let's say his health issue he's got, his ADD and everything else that he's got. Mm. So part of that is he's a little intolerant of people, and that gets him into a little bit of trouble. But I've seen him adapt over the years and learn a little bit over the years.
He's a lot better than he used to be.
My God, 100% better than what he's learned, which is great. And then, but when you're able to clearly articulate a vision and the future where you're going, people are inspired. Without a vision of the future, people perish, right? Mm-hmm. People just get lost. I always think it's people that are like, unfortunately, take their lives, or their future to them is so bleak that they don't see a future, that they're saying to themselves, what's the point of me living? That's really what happens to them if it's not a mental illness, right? And so if you give people this incredible vision of the future, where you're heading, what you're creating, and then have a place where those folks that vibe with that come in place, man, now you're talking. You're creating a powerful culture. And the last thing is structure. Structure is very important. Companies without structure inevitably fade away and fall apart. And so you need to be clear. What is my structure? Is it a duplicatable structure? Does my structure need me? If my structure needs me, that's not going to be a long-term viable business. So you need to be able to create a structure, and not only create a structure that doesn't need you. So you're surrounding yourself with smarter people, better people. And for some people, they can't handle that. They got to be the smartest person in the room. And that is always a disaster. You got to always surround yourself with better people, smarter people, people that make you think differently, make you analyze, and you're getting their feedback all the time and then making the decision, right? And so structure is the last part, not the least part, very important part of any business, and having the right structure in place. So those 5 things, I don't care what year it is. I don't care what's happening in the industry. I don't care what AI is doing. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to be able to have some mastery of those 5 things.
That is absolutely incredible. This is probably one of the most powerful guest shows that we've had. And I can't wait to promote this just left and right. So guys, we have been talking to Franco Lofranco. We've been just like, it's like the speed of a gun or a bullet, right? Just to get it all out here. But if you want to learn more, if you want to even work with him to figure out if you can be in this space, please tell the audience how they can get in touch with you or what you're working on now that they can follow you and get more of this.
Yeah, we're doing some amazing stuff in so many industries, from healthcare to you name it. So they can reach me on Instagram at Cav Franco, CAV Franco, and I'll be on Instagram, and Franco on Instagram. And just message me and I'll get back to you for sure.
And guys, we are running to the end of our show now, but we will have everything about him, all the information that you need. Of course, if you go to superclinicproject.com, if you go to our free school, then we'll have even more. So we have all the episodes up in their own classroom with everything that you can get. And if you want to leave a voicemail, let's say you just have a question for him and you just want to leave it, please go to superclinicproject.com, leave that voice memo, and we'll get it to him so he can respond back to you. And we might even play it on a future show. And I hope that we have him back. Thank you so much for being here today, Franco. This has been amazing.
This is fun. You're awesome, Jennifer. I love your show. I love what you're doing in the space. And look, this is getting information out like this. That's creative. That's resourceful. You're actually being the embodiment of all the things we just discussed. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. And we hope to do a lot more, and we hope to start bringing some really great summits and information directly to people who are interested on it. So be sure to subscribe. Also, like and share this podcast with anyone that you want. Just go to superclinicproject.com. And everybody, you have a super clinic week. Thank you again, Franco.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast. If you like what you hear, subscribe and stay tuned for further episodes of the Super Clinic Project podcast.